Hey guys, what's up? It's Audra and Coco, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I know I had to take a little break last week. I just had my dental surgery done, but I'm feeling much better today, and I'm ready to get going. I also just realized my camera bag's right here, so we're just gonna... Anyways, a few days ago I did this thing on my Instagram story where I posted a Q&A for you guys to, respond to about the Concrete Castles tour. So today I'm going to answer some of those questions. So let's get into it. Thank you to everybody who submitted a question. I picked 15, and some of these were like the same that other people asked, but I just kind of picked like the first person who asked the question so that I could get all of them in. So let's begin. First one up, Real Yuri Boy 19 said, what is the funniest tour story? And the only one that I could think of off the top of my head was this hotel, and I'll name it now, the Hotel from Hell. That's what we'll call this story. So we get into this hotel, it's super late, and I always call ahead when we're staying in these hotels and we're arriving at like 3 a.m. because obviously they're gonna be confused why you're not showing up when your check-in was 12 hours earlier at 3 p.m. So I always call and make sure everybody knows, so I call this hotel, whatever. We get there, me and Sam go to check in, and Matt and Amory are unloading the van. Me and Sam are trying to check in, and they're like, your card's declining, this card's declining, tried 3 different cards. And then he's like, actually, you didn't even pay for your room yet. And I was like, I like pulled like a Karen almost. Like I was like, listen buddy, I've got the receipt right here. I literally had it pulled up my phone. I was like, I know that this card went through, and I know that we paid for our room, and I know that none of these cards are getting declined, so you need to call and figure out what's going on. Like I said, I was very tired. It was 3 a.m. We just played a show. We drove for 3 hours. Like, it was not a good time for this man to have this happen to him, because I was not in a great mood. So that's all happening inside, and then Matt and Amory come walking in, and Amory's carrying his suitcase like this. While me and Sam were trying to deal with the hotel, Amory's zipper on his suitcase broke and all of his clothes fell out all over the parking lot, and then my suitcase rolled down the hill like away from them. It was just such a disastrous moment, and in the moment it was so annoying, but like in the morning when we were talking about it, it was so funny. Then we go up and our room is on floor 2, and the elevator is so small that Matt and Amory take the stairs. So Amory's carrying his suitcase up, and we get into the room and we look down, and all of a sudden there's a text from Amory and it says, we're on floor 3, right? So he walked up an extra flight of stairs to try and get to us when we were actually on floor 2. Anyways, that's probably the funniest story that I could think of from tour. Next up, Anthony Avella 44 asked, what is your favorite song you performed? You guys were awesome on tour. Thank you, number 1. And my favorite song to perform on this tour was Where Are You Now, especially the very last show. So to our surprise, Alan from Hail the Sun, he's their drummer, he surprised us and came up on stage and like pretended to play the bass with us for the very last show. It's so funny. I think I have a video somewhere that I can like throw in here. So he came up, pretended to play bass, and then also 2 of my best friends, Michaela and Colin, are there, who like were some of the inspiration for that song. So I dedicated the song to Michaela and Colin that night, and I changed Haley's name, sorry Haley, to Michaela that night at the show. So instead of saying looking over and seeing Haley smile, I said looking over and seeing Michaela smile. And it was just such like a cool moment for them to actually get to see it played live, and that song just means a lot to me, so I was like very excited to finally play that song in front of people. Next up, Gotta Bree Me, fantastic username by the way, said, what was your favorite outfit on tour? I think my favorite was probably the San Antonio show. I had bought the shirt that I wore that day like a few days prior. We went to a mall and there was like a garage, which is one of my favorite stores, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy anything, I'm not gonna buy anything. Of course I did, and I got that shirt. It was like the purple long sleeve with like the quarter zip, and my black, I'll put a picture in, my black leather skirt. But that was my favorite outfit, tied to a close second with the Philadelphia show with my orange shirt. I really like that one too. Next up, Ancherise Romero said, do you plan on doing an international tour, and how do you choose locations? So you never know. It could be soon that we do one, or it could be a few more years, but we don't choose really where we go or the locations we visit or whatever, because we are an opening band. So what happens is a band that's headlining and going on tour, we put our name in for this, or they ask us to do it, and then we either say yes or no. So when we got asked to do the Sound of Animals Fighting tour, we said yes, but we have no say in where the tour goes. All of that planning and booking is up to the booking agent and the headlining band, because obviously the headlining band is going to want to go to the places that are good for them, which most of the time it ends up being kind of the same for the opener bands. Like, obviously we hit some big markets for us as well, but that's normally how the booking of a tour goes when you are just an opener. Raphael Lunkus said, do you travel by car? Do you have pictures of the vehicle? Yes, we travel in a giant van, and I do have a picture of it. I'll put it right here. And that's what we keep all of our stuff. We keep all of our gear in the back. We take the seats out, and then we have one row of seats and then the 2 front seats. And that's why we stay in hotels, because obviously we can't sleep in that van. There's not enough room for 4 people, but we travel in the van and then we sleep in hotels overnight. Mr. Chris Doggy said, most random memory on tour. The most random one, definitely not compared to the first question, the funniest story, but the most random one is we came home to Erie for one night, basically not even, it was like 8 hours on tour in between Detroit and I don't remember where we were going next, whatever it was, Worcester, Massachusetts. So in between those 2 shows, we came home and we slept in our own beds. We were literally here for 8 hours. And on the way home, we all stayed up, none of us fell asleep, and we were just singing Bruno Mars and like Whitney Houston, like is at the top of our lungs, like old, and then like old like pop songs like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, like all these like old songs. And Amory just texts in our group chat, he had like headphones in or something, and he texts him back something like Bruno Mars and Red Bull like gets Matt like hyped up or something. I can't remember the exact words. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Amory said, I see Red Bull and Bruno Mars is equivalent to crack for Matt. Which is so true. We were like going crazy at like 1 a.m. for no reason, but it was very fun, and that is definitely like a random memory that I will carry with me about this tour. Next up, Pi Roser said, what was your favorite show? And why is Where Are You Now such a great song? Thank you. But my favorite show is always Chicago. Chicago just blows everything out of the water. I don't know what is up with you people from Chicago, but you're awesome. I do have to say though, a close second, 2 close seconds actually on this tour were San Antonio and New York City. Normally in New York City we have like a horrible experience, not because of like the actual show, but getting into New York City and the venue and parking and, you know, all the other things that come with the territory of New York City. But we had a great time getting in, and they had parking for us, and it was super easy. We got to walk around a little bit. The show was great. The people were great. So those ones are definitely close seconds, but Chicago still takes the cake for me. I'm sorry. Audra Miller and the kids said, how does your voice feel after several shows? Honestly, my voice is pretty well trained to kind of like hold its own for a long period of time. And that's partially thanks to First to 11. We sometimes play like 2 4-hour shows 2 days in a row, back to back, you know, for 2 weekends in a row. So I'm constantly using my voice and using it correctly, obviously, but I do a lot of warm-ups, and I'm very careful with how much I'm like speaking and yelling and, you know, doing things on tour that can be detrimental to your voice. But the last 3 shows, I will say, I think I had like a sinus infection or something. I couldn't breathe, my throat was sore, I felt so sick. And I like barely scraped by the last 3 shows. I made it, but it wasn't the best. It sounded fine, it wasn't great, but it hurt so bad. And sometimes you have that, and since there was only 3 shows, I just kind of pushed through. The last one was by far the worst that I felt, but it was the last show, so I was like, we're almost done. But yeah, I'm just very careful, and I do a lot of warm-ups to kind of help me push through stuff like that. B-Knowles17 said, what is your favorite and least favorite part about touring? I think my favorite part about touring is being able to go on tour with new bands every time, so you meet new people, you make new friends, and obviously the least favorite part about it is just the not sleeping part and the travel, because you're doing a lot of work and you're getting basically 0 to no sleep every night, and it's just a lot for a person's body to handle, but it's really not that bad. All right, I have no clue how to say this last part of the username. It's like set up on a Tigovin something. Anyways, did you all have any pre or post show traditions that had to be done each time? You guys are gonna hate me for this, but no, we don't do that. The closest thing we had was like Amory would like dap us up before every show. That was it though. Like, we didn't do anything like fun. I don't know. We just like, when you're an opener, it's like get on, get off, and get out of there as fast as you can. So we don't really linger around for much longer around the stage. Hectorian said, does it get annoying to meet fans or get all the same questions asked? Not at all. I would say it's probably more annoying for the fans to meet us sometimes, because like I said, there are some days where you were just like running on no sleep, your voice hurts, you can barely speak, like the last thing that you want to be doing is standing up there and selling merch, but you're gonna do it anyways. So when fans get us on days like that, I just feel bad because I literally, like, I need to save my voice. I can't talk as much and I can't do as much as I normally would do. And then obviously you get some questions where you're just like, oh, are you gonna play any covers? No. Like, we've talked about this. You know, there's obviously some that are gonna drive me crazy, but for the most part, not at all. No. All right, getting down to the last few. Concrete Castle's Love said, after party or sleeping? Depends on the day. If we have a day off, we have not a long drive, after party. If we have a lot of driving to do and we have a show the next day, absolutely not. It's sleeping all the way. But we do like to have our fun on tour. Till Goyen said, was this tour better than the last one? If so, why? Yes, I would say. I think the more and more tours you go on, the bigger they start to get, the more professional the venues get to get, the musicians get, the, you know, it's just like these people that we were on tour with this time are basically like legacies. Like, they are just amazing musicians who have been touring for so long, and they are just, they're veteran touring acts. So they just know how to do it, and they are so good at it. So it's very cool to be on a tour like this where you get to learn from people who have been doing it for so long and performing for so long, and it just gives you kind of a different perspective on the touring world compared to touring with bands who are still great at touring but just haven't been doing it as long as some of the people that we were on tour with this time. Jack D20D4 said, what was the hardest song to perform? I think the hardest one for me was Atmosphere, just because it comes after Lucky, which is like a very, like, I'm jumping around going crazy, and then Atmosphere just kind of like slows down. So I'm like, but it's also like in a weird range for me, where sometimes, like, some nights it's hard if my voice is sore, but most of the time it's not. I don't know, it's just a weird thing. But that one I think is definitely the hardest one. Last but not least, Mr. San Andreas said, what is the most beautiful thing about going on tour as Concrete Castles? I think the coolest thing is we all get to do it together, and I think the thing that sets it apart in, like, the most beautiful compared to, like, playing shows as First to 11 is it's our music. And it's fun to play covers, and it's fun to play cover shows, but there's nothing beats playing a song that you wrote that means something to you, that can potentially mean something to other people, and getting to connect with fans in a whole new way of them kind of understanding your personality and what you care about and what your beliefs are. And it's definitely a special moment to get to share and open up and, like, be vulnerable on stage with original music compared to playing covers. I think that was a fantastic question to end on, so thank you to everybody who submitted questions. If your question didn't make it, I'm so sorry. If your question wasn't answered, I apologize. I tried to hit, like, the big ones that were the most popular in the little thing that I posted. So thanks so much for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss an upload every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye! See you next week. Bye, Coco. Bye!